Kabir Sehgal, in your book Coined, you dig deep into the roots of money. Tell me why you went on this journey to discover the very workings of currency.
Well, Greg, I started working at JP Morgan just months before the credit crisis began. I wanted to know what is going on in people's minds when they deal with money. I mean, people were losing their jobs, people were acting so irrationally. So I dug deeply. I traveled to over 25 countries with my job, and I researched the topic for over 4 years, and it culminates in this book, Coined.
And you start in the Galapagos Island, which makes sense because you're talking about the evolution of money. Why did you start there?
You know, when you boil it down, money gives us the calories we need to survive. Money really gives you the energy that you need to survive. And so while I was in the Galapagos, I studied different ecosystems. And sure enough, all the organisms I found there in the Galapagos, even right here in New York, they all use exchange, meaning energy. There's always energy transfers. And I looked closely at this. There's actually a gene that determines how much risk we take on. They've taken identical twins, and they found them, they've been separated for long periods of time. Identical twins who have the same genes, they invest in a similar manner. So oftentimes, if you make a bad investment decision, don't blame yourself, blame your parents. It's their gene pool after all.
Well, in China, you searched for the origins of paper money. So what happened? Did coins become too heavy in people's pockets? How did this come about?
China invented paper money probably around the 9th century AD, but the more exciting story is in the 13th century when Genghis Khan comes to power and the Mongols want to rule the entire world. And how do they rule the entire world? Not with bow and arrows and not with horses, but with paper money. And so they circulated paper money initially backed by silver and silk. And so eventually what they did is they became reliant on paper money. They printed too much of it, and they started to cut that link between money and metal. There was a currency crisis, a monetary crisis, a financial crisis. Eventually that part of the Mongol Empire collapsed. Has lessons for us today. If you print too much money, it sows the seeds of destruction later on in life.
Let's stay with paper money. Right now there's a debate in the United States about taking Alexander Hamilton, who's the father of U.S. banking, off the $10 bill. Now, where do you come out with regard to this debate? Because a currency says a lot about the history of a country. So you're taking Alexander Hamilton, who started the whole banking system, off the $10 bill. Are you in favor of that?
Greg, I'm very supportive of Rosa Rios, the United States Treasurer. She actually called me not too long ago to get my opinion on this matter. She's actually not taking Alexander Hamilton off the $10 bill. He's still going to be there, but they're going to be looking at which women to put on the $10 bill. He's going to share it. And I found that it's so important for our money to represent important people in society. And I think, you know, Rosa Parks would be incredible to be on the money. Grace Hopper, one of the ladies who was an admiral of the Navy, would be wonderful to be on the money. Whoever we put on the money should represent America the beautiful. And I believe Alexander Hamilton should stay on the $10 bill. He will. And we should add a woman. And I told the same thing to Rosa Rios.
All right. Now, what about gold? It's currently getting hit in the market today. People talk about gold as the currency of last resort. So do you have a view on the price of gold right now?
I think gold, look, gold is a tradition. That's why Ben Bernanke said that. Why do we buy gold? We buy it because of tradition. Why do we store it? We store it because of tradition. I think it's probably a smart place to go when things are going bad. But I don't think there's a real logical reason for someone to own gold because there's not a use case for it. We use it sometimes in jewelry, but what is the use case for gold? Very, very little. So it's just another idea that people invest in.
And then finally, what about Bitcoin? People say this is the currency of the future. This is going to get rid of all the paper currency and the coins everywhere, I guess.
Well, 85% of the transactions in the world are still cash. So cash is not going anywhere. I think Bitcoin is a very powerful technology. When you want to send, I was in Saudi Arabia last year. People who work in Saudi Arabia, like maids, they send the money to people in the Philippines. It takes 15% in remittance fees. Using Bitcoin, you can disintermediate a lot of that and go for a percentage of that. So Bitcoin is going to be more successful in the short run in emerging markets than here at home in developing countries.
All right, thanks a lot for talking about your book. It's a great
My pleasure.
book.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching The Street.